Welcome back, and thank you for spending a little time with us today. If you enjoy calm backyard gardening, simple growing wisdom, and practical methods that actually make life easier in the garden, I hope you will subscribe and join us for more videos like this. I want this channel to feel like a quiet conversation between gardeners, the kind where one useful idea can completely change the way you look at your plants. Most gardeners spend years staring at the wrong part of the plant. They look at the leaves, they look at the flowers, they count tomatoes before they are even ripe. Then summer arrives, and suddenly the garden begins struggling. Leaves curl in the afternoon heat. Flowers start dropping, fruit stays smaller than expected, and many people think the answer is more fertilizer. But after years of gardening, I have learned something simple. The real story of a plant begins underground. A weak root system may survive during cool spring weather, but July tells the truth. When the soil dries faster and the heat becomes heavy, weak roots cannot keep up. The plant starts protecting itself instead of growing strongly. But gardens with healthier roots often stay calmer during difficult weather. The leaves stay stronger, the stems stay steady, the fruit continues developing even during stressful weeks. That is why two gardens can sit under the same sky, receive the same sunlight, and still produce completely different harvests. Today, I want to show you a simple homemade mixture that many experienced gardeners still quietly trust. It is inexpensive, easy to make, and designed to support the living world around the roots instead of forcing unnatural growth above the soil. This is not magic. It is not a miracle shortcut. It is simply a smarter way to support the hidden system that keeps a plant strong. And in just a few minutes, I will explain why some gardeners believe the healthiest gardens are not built from the top down, but from the bottom up. Most people think soil is just dirt mixed with fertilizer, but healthy soil behaves more like a living system. Beneath every healthy garden, there is an invisible world working quietly day and night. Roots are not simply pulling water upward. They are constantly interacting with the environment around them. Healthy roots release natural compounds into the soil that attract beneficial microorganisms. Tiny organisms begin helping break down nutrients into forms the plant can actually absorb. Some help improve moisture balance during dry afternoons. Others help create a healthier environment around the roots during stressful weather. Scientists call this underground zone the rhizosphere, but the idea itself is simple. Healthy roots support healthy soil life, and healthy soil life supports the plant in return. That is one reason experienced gardeners pay so much attention to the condition of the soil instead of only focusing on what happens above ground. A plant may look healthy in mild spring weather, but extreme summer heat quickly exposes weak roots. When temperatures rise day after day, shallow roots struggle first. The soil dries faster near the surface, and stressed plants begin falling behind. You can often see it happen slowly. The leaves wilt earlier in the afternoon. The flowers become more fragile. Fruit production slows down. The plant begins spending more energy surviving instead of growing. But plants with stronger root systems behave differently. Their roots continue searching deeper for moisture and nutrients. They stay more stable during long periods of heat. They recover from stress more easily because the underground system supporting them is stronger. And this is where many gardeners start noticing something important. The healthiest gardens usually do not come from constantly pushing plants harder. They come from supporting the living environment beneath the soil. But roots alone are not the full story. Because one simple ingredient sitting quietly in many kitchens can help support that underground system in a surprisingly effective way. That ingredient is ordinary bread yeast. The same yeast people use for baking bread has been part of human life for generations. The particular yeast commonly used in gardening is called Saccharomyces cerevisiae. The name sounds scientific, but the idea behind it is actually very simple. When yeast is mixed with warm water and a small amount of sugar, the cells become active. During that process, they begin producing biological compounds that may help create a more active soil environment around plant roots. This is why many gardeners become interested in yeast-based gardening methods. Not because yeast magically forces giant harvests overnight, but because it may help support the living activity already happening underground. Healthy gardening is usually not about forcing explosive growth. It is about creating steady conditions that help plants handle stress more effectively over time. And plants experience stress more often than most people realize. Heat waves place pressure on the root system. Transplanting stresses young plants while they rebuild feeder roots. Flowering suddenly increases the plant's demand for water and minerals. Every stage of the season asks something different from the roots. That is why many experienced gardeners focus less on chasing fast green growth and more on building stable soil biology. Over time, gardens supported by healthier soil systems often become steadier during difficult weather. The leaves remain stronger during hot afternoons. Flowers hold longer during heat. Plants recover faster after stress. Older gardeners understood this long before modern gardening products became common. They may not have used words like microbiome or soil biology, but they understood that healthy soil behaves like a living thing. And this is where many people make one important mistake. They hear about homemade gardening mixtures and immediately try using too much, too often, or too aggressively. But healthy gardening is usually about balance, patience, and timing. So let me show you the mixture itself and explain how to use it the right way. The recipe is surprisingly simple. You will need 1 liter of lukewarm water, about 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. The temperature of the water matters more than most people think. The water should feel slightly warm, close to body temperature. If the water is too hot, the yeast can become damaged before activating. If it is too cold, the biological activity slows down too much. Pour the water into a jar or large container. Add the yeast and the sugar, then stir slowly until everything dissolves. The sugar is not feeding the plant directly, the sugar is helping activate the yeast itself. Now cover the container loosely instead of sealing it tightly. As the yeast becomes active, gas begins forming inside the mixture. A loose cloth or paper towel works well. Place the container somewhere shaded for about 30 to 40 minutes. During that time, you may notice small bubbles and light foam forming near the surface. That is a sign the yeast is active. And this is where many gardeners make their biggest mistake. They pour the concentrated mixture directly onto the plant roots. More is not always better in gardening. Before using the mixture, dilute it with water at about a 1:10 ratio. 1 part concentrate and 10 parts water. Then slowly water the soil around the base of the plant instead of spraying the leaves. The goal is to support the underground environment first. I personally like using this method during transplanting, early root development, or just before heavy flowering begins. Those are the moments when the plant is trying to build strength for the season ahead. Because every heavy harvest begins underground first. A large tomato is not created in a single sunny afternoon. Strong roots move more water. Strong roots transport more nutrients. Strong roots help support the energy required for flowers and fruit. In many ways, the fruit you harvest later in summer begins as invisible work happening beneath the soil weeks earlier. After applying the diluted mixture, patience becomes important. You do not need to constantly disturb the plant or keep adding more. Gardening rewards people who know how to observe quietly. Over the next several days, you may begin noticing small changes. Plants often appear steadier in the morning. Leaves may look slightly deeper in color. New growth may begin looking stronger and more balanced. The real changes happen slowly underground. Fine feeder roots continue expanding. The soil environment becomes more active. The plant begins building stability instead of simply chasing fast growth. And that underground strength eventually becomes visible above the soil. Fruit develops more steadily. Plants handle stressful weather more calmly. Stems become stronger. The entire garden begins feeling more balanced. That is why I never think of gardening as a battle against nature. Good gardening works with natural systems instead of trying to overpower them. A healthy garden is usually quiet roots, quiet soil life, quiet steady growth. And honestly, that may be one of the most rewarding parts of gardening later in life. It teaches patience. It teaches observation. It reminds us that strong things are often built slowly. So the next time you walk through your backyard during a warm summer evening, remember that the real work of the garden is still happening beneath your feet. Hidden roots, living soil, quiet strength supporting everything above it. If this video helped you see your garden differently, let me know in the comments which plant you would try this method on first. And if you enjoy calm, practical gardening lessons like this, subscribe and join us again for the next video. Because once you begin caring for the life beneath the soil, the whole garden starts to change.